Chapter 8. The Quiet in Between. The door clicked softly as Chen Lian left the consultation room. For a few seconds, silence settled in an accustomed presence that usually steadied Lin Ziyuan. Today it felt different. His gaze lingered on the chair she had occupied, where a narrow strip of sunlight still rested. It was irrational, he knew. And yet the moment she had entered the room, the usual chaos of emotional colors, the agitated reds, the trembling blues, the dull grays of suppression, had not appeared at all. There had been nothing to read, only a thin veil of white gold, not radiating, not shifting, simply there. It didn't respond to her words, didn't intensify when she spoke of stress, didn't fracture when her breath wavered. It muted everything. He had never encountered an emotional field that resisted interpretation so completely. "Lin," Dr. Han Yao's voice cut through the stillness, gentle but deliberate. "You're still looking at the chair." Ziyuan blinked once and straightened. "I was reviewing the session," he said evenly. "Post-interview effects." Han arched a brow, faint amusement in his expression. "You've reviewed far more complex cases without staring holes into furniture." Lin Ziyuan frowned slightly. "What are you implying?" Han leaned back, observing him with the same careful attention he had years ago, back when Lin had first disclosed that the world came to him in colors no one else could see. "That something interrupted your usual process," Han said quietly. "You didn't track emotional shifts. You didn't annotate color variants. You just listened." Lin Ziyuan's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "She presented classic burnout markers," he replied. "Sleep fragmentation, somatic anxiety, hyper-responsibility. I focused on content." Han's tone remained neutral. "And the colors?" Lin Ziyuan's fingers paused against the file. "I couldn't access them," he admitted. Han didn't react, only waited. "There was no spectrum," Lin continued. "No fluctuation, no signal." A brief pause. "Just white gold, continuous, opaque." Han's eyes sharpened slightly. "So instead of overwhelming you," he said slowly, "she obstructed the process entirely." "Yes," Lin exhaled, "which shouldn't be possible." Han folded his hands. "Or perhaps it is, just not something you've encountered before." Lin looked toward the window. The city below shimmered in distant motion. It was manageable and orderly. When she spoke, he said, almost to himself, the background noise stopped. "I didn't need to filter anything." Han's gaze softened, just a fraction. "Silence can be diagnostic too." Lin Ziyuan gave a short, humorless breath. "Silence isn't an emotion." "No," Han agreed, "but the absence of interference can be therapeutic." Lin Ziyuan gathered his notes, professionalism settling back into place. Meanwhile, Chen Lian walked down the street toward the metro, replaying the session in her mind. His voice, his stillness, and the unlikely fact that she had already met him, of all places, at that absurd blind date. What were the chances? Yet instead of irritation, a quiet curiosity unfurled in her chest, like silk thread slipping through fingers. She adjusted the strap of her bag and stared at her reflection in the train window, face pale against rushing tunnel black. "He looked at me differently this time," she thought. Or maybe I just imagined it. Even so, the strange calm that had followed her out of the clinic stayed with her the entire ride home, soft, steady, and unfamiliar, like a song that kept echoing long after it ended. Lin Ziyuan had just stepped into the living room when his mother's voice rose from the sofa, warm but edged with intent. "Ziyuan," Lin Meilin said, setting down her teacup with deliberate grace, "I've been waiting to ask you about that blind date with Chen Lian." The air shifted, soft, shimmering. Before he even processed her words, he caught it again, the faint, white gold mist. It drifted at the edge of his vision, calm and steady, the same tone he'd only ever seen around one person. His mother kept talking, but the mist quieted the usual static that accompanied her questions. It wasn't comforting, nor was the comfort too strong, but it didn't suffocate him. It was simple, present, neutral, a rare equilibrium. Meilin noticed his stillness and misread it instantly. "At least you're thinking about her," she said, a hopeful brightness entering her smile. I heard she's good, truly good. An art restorer, yes, that kind of work. You need patience and precision. She must see the smallest details. Zhe Yan said nothing. He knew these spirals of expectations. He knew how easily they became illusions she clung to. He also knew if he corrected her, it would only tighten the loop. So he stayed silent. Meilin leaned forward, unable to mask her growing impatience. Zhe Yan, I want to meet her. My patience is wearing thin. What do you think? He pressed his lips together, the quiet, restrained line that served as both shield and reply, and stood. I have work, he said simply. Before she could reach for another hopeful conclusion, he turned and walked toward his room, letting the white gold residue fade behind him like a breath held too long. The door closed with a soft click. Lin Meilin exhaled sharply, annoyance threading through her sigh. This child, she muttered. If he won't say anything, I'll just meet her myself. Just a look, she thought. Just enough to understand the girl who left that calm mist in his silence. Meilin had been quiet through most of breakfast. Not distracted. Quiet in the way someone becomes when a thought refuses to loosen its grip. Lin Shiren noticed it the way he noticed most things about his wife, without comment at first. Only when she folded her napkin too carefully did he finally speak. You've been thinking since morning, he said, setting his tea down. About what? Lin Meilin hesitated. Then, as she always did with him, she answered honestly. About that blind date, she said softly. The one Rulan and I arranged. Lin Shiren looked at her, attentive but unalarmed. Chen Lian and Zhe Yuan. She nodded. Neither of them talks about it. Not to us, not to their families. A small sigh escaped her. Rulan mentioned it again on the phone yesterday. She said Chen Lian changes the topic every time. Lin Shiren smiled faintly. And Zhe Yuan? Lin Meilin let out a breath. The same. Complete avoidance. They sat with that for a moment. To be fair, Lin Shiren said, we agreed not to interfere. I know. She clasped her hands together. And I still believe they suit each other. Temperament, values, even the way they move through the world. But belief doesn't mean force. Lin Shiren studied her face. You're worried. Yes, she admitted, but not impatient. He nodded slowly. Then let's stay that way. She glanced at him. You've noticed it too, haven't you? The change in Zhe Yuan, he said. Of course, he's always been distant, but recently. He paused, choosing his words. He comes home with work stacked to his chin, goes straight to his room, avoids conversation more than before. Lin Meilin's brows drew together. Do you think something's wrong? I don't know, Lin Shiren said honestly. It could just be work, or something he doesn't want to explain yet. Should we talk to him? Lin Shiren considered it. I want to, he said, but I think if we press now, he'll retreat further. If something's weighing on him, he'll come to us when he's ready. Lin Meilin nodded slowly. So, we wait, she said. Yes, Lin Shiren replied. Waiting is also a choice. Chen Lian slipped through the door quietly, expecting the apartment to be dim. Instead, the warm lamp on the side table was still lit, and her brother was sitting on the sofa, laptop already closed like he'd been waiting. Chen Yuxin looked up immediately. We're back. How was your first session? She kicked off her shoes and walked in, slower than usual. It was good, she said honestly. Calmer than I thought. He watched her carefully, reading her face the way only an older brother could. You don't look drained. I'm not. She hesitated, then added, Dr. Han is steady, easy to talk to. Yuxin nodded, relieved, until she continued quietly, and someone was assisting him today. Oh? His attention sharpened. Who was it? She exhaled lightly. Lin Zhe Yan. That made her brother straighten in an instant. Really? He was there too? She nodded. Apparently he's assisting Dr. Han with a few work stress cases. It was professional, that's all. Her voice insisted on distance, but her eyes wandered, toward the window, toward nothing. Yuxin caught that immediately, and the corner of his mouth lifted in a subtle, satisfied smile. Interesting, he murmured. Without us doing anything, you two just keep crossing paths. Chen Lian shot him a sharp look. Big brother, why are you smiling like that? No reason. His tone was innocent. His face was absolutely not. Big brother, he raised his hands in mock surrender, a laugh escaping before he could stop it. I'm just saying, looks like fate's working overtime. She groaned and dropped her bag onto the sofa. Please don't start with fate, or matchmaking, or any theories, but he was definitely enjoying this. You thought about him, didn't you? That's why you mentioned him first. I mentioned him because he was in the room, not because— She cut herself off, irritation flickering across her face. Forget it. All right, he said, still smiling. I'll stop. He didn't stop smiling, she noticed, and rolled her eyes so hard it nearly hurt. But later, when she closed her bedroom door behind her, the annoyance dissolved, and the memory of Lin Ziyan's calm gaze returned, uninvited, lingering in the quiet like a soft echo. Later that week, Lin Meilin found herself standing in front of the Jingsheng Historical Museum. She told herself it was curiosity. After hearing Rulan speak so often about Chen Lian's work, it was only natural to want to see it. And maybe that was true, but beneath it lay something simpler, a need to reassure herself. Inside, the museum was calm in a way modern spaces rarely were. Lin Meilin walked slowly, reading plaques, pausing longer than necessary. She didn't ask for anyone by name. She didn't want to intrude. When she eventually noticed Chen Lian, it wasn't because someone pointed her out. It was because the space around her felt settled. Chen Lian was explaining a restoration process to a colleague, her voice low, her posture relaxed but assured. Lin Meilin watched from a respectful distance. No grand presence, no performance, just quiet competence. When Chen Lian turned and noticed her, she approached politely, professionally. "Good morning," she said. "May I help you?" Lin Meilin smiled. "I was admiring the restoration work. You do beautiful things with history." "Thank you," Chen Lian replied, slightly surprised. "That's kind of you." "I'm Lin Meilin," she said simply. "I used to know your mother." When the woman smiled and introduced herself, the name landed softly and completely. Lin Meilin. For the briefest moment, Chen Lian didn't speak. Not because she was startled, but because her mind moved faster than her expression could follow. "So this is her. Dr. Lin Ziyan's mother. The name my mother mentioned. The woman who arranged that dinner." The pause lasted only a second, but it was enough. Lin Meilin noticed. She always did when it came to people. Before Chen Lian could decide what to say next, Lin Meilin spoke first, her tone gentle, almost deliberately light. "Don't worry," she said with a small smile, as if smoothing an invisible crease in the air. "I didn't come here to talk about anything complicated." Chen Lian looked up. "I just wanted to meet you," Lin Meilin continued warmly. "I finally had the chance. Your mother talks about you often, so often in fact, that I felt I already knew you a little." Her gaze was kind, examining. "You're a very good child, Chen Lian," she added simply. Something in Chen Lian's chest loosened. She hadn't realized how tightly she'd been holding herself until that moment. "Thank you," she said, the words coming easier now. "That means a lot." There was no awkwardness after that. They spoke, not as two women circling an unspoken topic, but as themselves. Lin Meilin asked about the museum, about the restoration work, about how long Chen Lian had been in the field. She listened with genuine curiosity, reacting not with polite nods, but with real interest. When Chen Lian explained the delicate balance between preservation and restraint, Lin Meilin smiled. "You must have very patient hands," she said, "and a stubborn heart." That last word settling softly between them. Chen Lian replied lightly, surprising herself with the ease of it. Lin Meilin laughed, soft and approving. "I can see why your mother is proud." As they walked past the displays, Chen Lian found herself thinking, unexpectedly, that Lin Meilin was nothing like the pressure she had imagined. The waiting room smelled the same as always: sandalwood, soft disinfectant, the faintest trace of citrus. Chen Lian sat with her sketchbook balanced on her knees, flipping through drawings she barely remembered making. Lines, textures, half-formed ideas. Proof that she had been resting, as Dr. Han asked. She was improving, She could feel it. Still, the moment she stepped into Dr. Han Yao's office, something small and sharp tugged at her awareness. There was only one chair across from the desk, only one pen, only one presence. He's not here. The thought surfaced before she could stop it. Dr. Han closed the door gently behind her. Good to see you again, Miss Chen. 2 weeks already. She nodded as she sat. It doesn't feel that long. That's usually a good sign. His tone was even, practiced, warm without intimacy, attentive without intrusion. He glanced briefly at her posture, the way her gaze drifted, just for a second, toward the empty corner of the room, before returning to him. He made a note. As you may have noticed, he continued calmly, Dr. Lin assisted only with your initial assessment. There's no need for him to be present in the follow-up sessions. The statement was precise, clinical, closed. Chen Lian paused, only a fraction of a second, not enough to be obvious, not enough to require a response. I see, she said, her voice steady. Han adjusted his glasses, his expression unchanged. Your progress has been consistent. Breathing patterns have stabilized. Muscle tension has reduced. He tapped the edge of her sketchbook lightly. And your hands appear steadier. She smiled faintly. A little. Sleep? He asked. Better, she replied. Not perfect, but better. Dreams? Mostly quiet. Good. He wrote something down, then looked up again, not at her face this time, but at the subtle way her shoulders had relaxed, and then tightened again. He did not comment. Professional boundaries existed for a reason. Tell me about your mornings, he said. Still rushed? Slower, she admitted. I make tea now. I stopped relying on coffee. Excellent. Yet as the session continued, her thoughts refused to settle completely. He was here the first day, then not. He didn't say much. He didn't do anything unusual. So why am I? She cut the thought off sharply. Ridiculous, unnecessary, irrelevant. Still, the room felt subtly altered, not worse, just quieter, like a painting missing a single brushstroke, one so understated that no one would name it, but the artist would feel it instantly. When the session ended, Han closed his notebook. You're doing well. If this trajectory continues, we can reduce sessions to once a week. That sounds good, she said. She thanked him. She stepped into the sunlit hallway. And yet, something remained behind. A small, unanswered question, resting in the quietest part of her mind, persistent without urgency. Why did his absence matter at all? And in Dr. Han's office, long after she left, he sat with his fingertips pressed together. He had seen her glance toward the empty chair 3 separate times. Interesting, he thought. Progress appears steady, yet her attention has found its own axis. He wouldn't interfere, not yet. Professional boundaries first, psychological pacing second. Fate, if it wished, could handle the rest. The session ended with the soft click of Dr. Han's door. Chen Lian stepped into the corridor, the clinic report still warm between her fingers. Therapy phase completed. Status improving. She exhaled slowly. 2 weeks had felt both long and strangely brief. Turning toward the main exit, she slowed. Something had caught her attention. A flicker of movement at the far end of the quieter wing, the section of the clinic that few patients used. Someone was walking there. Someone familiar. Tall frame, white coat, head slightly lowered, gaze fixed on the floor, as if the world above demanded too much noise. Lin Zhewan. Her breath caught, for no reason she could immediately name. He wasn't meant to be part of her sessions anymore. He hadn't been for 2 weeks. She had told herself it didn't matter. Yet seeing him now, unanticipated, unprepared, her heartbeat gave a small, disobedient lift. Why is he here? She didn't move, only watched. His steps were quiet, almost absent-minded, like someone moving through thought rather than space. Then he stopped, abruptly, as if he had encountered something invisible. His gaze dropped again, shoulders tightening by a fraction. White gold mist, it gathered around his shoes, thin, steady, unmistakable, the same hue she carried without conscious effort. Slowly he lifted his head. Their eyes met across the corridor. No rush of recognition or pull of longing, only a mutual pause. Two people equally surprised by the same small convergence. For a brief moment, neither seemed to remember how to look away. Lin Zhewan broke the contact first. He inhaled, adjusted his glasses, his composure settling back into place like a well-worn coat. Stepping slightly aside to maintain distance, he spoke, voice even and professional. "Miss Chen," he said, "how is your therapy progressing?" Chen Lian blinked, grounding herself. "Oh, yes. Today was the last session. Dr. Han said I'm improving." He nodded once, analytical. "That corresponds with what I can observe. Your complexion appears healthier. There's less tension around your eyes." His gaze remained polite, brief. "You seem to be sleeping better." A faint warmth settled in her chest at the directness of the assessment. "Yes," she replied. "It's been steadier." He didn't smile, but something in his expression eased, so slight it could have been imagined. "Good," he said quietly. The corridor remained still around them, suspended for a moment longer than necessary, as if waiting to see whether either of them would take the next step. When Chen Yuxin returned home, he found his sister sitting on the sofa with her sketchbook open across her knees. A blank page, the pencil resting lightly in her hand, untouched. She wasn't lost in thought. She simply wasn't moving. Something about that stillness unsettled him. He set his briefcase down and walked closer, keeping his voice casual. "You haven't eaten yet?" She shook her head without lifting her gaze. He sat opposite her, elbows on his knees, studying her the way he had learned to, quietly, carefully, as if searching for signs she might not name herself. "You've been quiet lately," he said. "The therapy, is it actually helping?" There was a pause. Then she nodded, slow and honest. "It helped more than I expected." Relief crossed his face, brief but genuine. "But it didn't last." "That's good," he said softly. "I want you to feel better, Lian. You've carried things alone for too long." He hesitated, then continued, as if deciding something in real time. "That's why I've been thinking we shouldn't stay stuck on the last blind date." Her fingers stilled. She finally looked up. "Stuck?" "You weren't taking it seriously," he said, not accusing, just stating what he believed to be true. "You met once. You didn't react. You didn't say no, but you didn't say yes either." He reached into his pocket, pulling out his phone. "So, I spoke to someone else, a colleague's cousin. He's stable, kind, and actually interested in settling down." The words landed heavier than he intended. Chen Lian stared at him. "You already found someone else?" she asked quietly. "I'm not forcing you," Yuxin replied quickly. "I just don't want you waiting on something that clearly isn't going anywhere." Her gaze dropped back to the sketchbook, to the blank page. She didn't argue, didn't raise her voice, didn't explain. Instead, a question surfaced in her mind, soft, dangerous, uninvited. "Then why does the thought of moving on feel wrong?" A fleeting image crossed her awareness. A quiet corridor, white coats, a calm voice asking how she was sleeping. She tightened her grip on the pencil. "You think I'm not serious," she said at last. "But you never asked me what I was feeling." Yuxin frowned. "If you felt something, you would have said so." Would she? She wasn't sure, because what she felt didn't have a name yet. It wasn't certain. It wasn't longing. It was something quieter, something that hadn't finished forming. "I don't want to be rushed," she said. "Not into marriage, not into replacing one person with another, just to prove I'm moving forward." He rubbed his temple, frustration flickering through his calm. "I'm not rushing you," he insisted. "I'm protecting you." "From what? From loneliness? Or from time?" She looked at him then, really looked, at the faint tension in his shoulders, the urgency he tried to mask as logic. "You're afraid," she said gently, "but you're making choices for me because of it." Silence settled between them. He looked away first. Across from him, Chen Lian lowered her gaze once more to the empty page, the pencil hovering as if waiting for permission to move. "What if the person you're asking me to leave behind is the one my heart hasn't even admitted to yet?" The thought startled her. Unwelcome, yet undeniable. Her chest felt tight, not with anxiety, but with something unfinished. Chen Yuxin stood, phone still in his hand, the new name glowing faintly on the screen. He didn't say anything more. and neither did she. Between them stretched a perfect misunderstanding, one born not of distance, but of love spoken in different languages.